in the spring, because it's a new team in the spring, and we clearly define, we have a clear picture in our mind exactly where we want to go and what it wants to look like. So much so that we write it down on a piece of paper. We write it down and we make sure we know exactly in detail what we are moving towards, what the future is going to look like, what the destiny is going to be for our group. They did a study in Harvard back in the 1940s, and with this study, there was a graduating class, 1943. Of that graduating class, there was less than 5% of the class had so clearly defined their goals that they wrote it down. Less than 5%. There was over 40-some% that they could state their goals, but they never wrote them down. The rest of the class, pretty good school, but the rest of the class had no idea when they had graduated what they wanted to accomplish. Years later, when they conclude the study, what they found out was that 3% that wrote down their goals, they accomplished more than the rest of the class put together. The power of not only defining it clearly, but writing it down and putting it in front of you. Because when that happens, two things happen. One, we start programming our subconscious mind by seeing it. You see, that part of the brain, the subconscious mind, that's responsible for things like your heart beating, your breathing, the blood flowing through your body. Do you ever think about that? Do you consciously ever think about it? No. But it handles it all perfectly. Something so complex as our body. Your subconscious mind takes care of it every single day perfectly. And when you start programming your mind by seeing that every single day, it starts programming your subconscious mind to start moving in that direction. It empowers it. The other, by writing it down, is now you become accountable to it. Now it's real. Now it's in front of you. It's not something you hope for. Not something you're wishing for. It's right there. This is where I'm moving. This is the direction. You end up putting that compass down by writing it down and putting it in front. What we know about our God, let me tell you this, is there are a couple of places and a couple of times during the day where it becomes very useful. But you need to write it down and put it on paper. There was a guy who, successful person who invited a group of people to his house for a dinner party. And after the dinner, he gathers them together in his living room, and he's talking to them. He said, I called you tonight and had you over because I simply wanted to tell you this story. He said there was a young boy, probably about your age, who had a father who was a itinerant horse trainer. And because of his profession, this boy was moving from town to town to town. His life was very disrupted. Different friends, different houses, different towns, different schools. And academically, he suffered because of it as well. And he was never very good in school until one day he said, this is it. This is my chance to be successful. English class. Teacher says, your assignment is to write down in detail, write an essay on where you're going to be in 10, 15 years. The boy got excited. He got excited because this was something he had worked on in his mind for so long. He had developed for so long. He had it in great detail. So the whole week long, he spends every night writing it down on paper, great detail. Friday comes, he hands in the paper, and the whole weekend he's excited because he knows on Monday he's getting his grade back. A little bit of self-image is coming back from these things. So he gets the paper back on Monday. They're handing him out, and he gets his paper back from the teacher, and on the top of the paper is this big red F. And it says, "See me after class." And the boy was devastated. Devastated. He said, "This is my chance to be a good student." So after class, everybody leaves. He walks up to the teacher. He says, "Teacher, I don't understand. I tried to do the assignment just as you said. Was it my grammar, my spelling? What was it?" And the teacher looked at him. He said, "I know you. And I know who you are. I I know what your dad makes. And in this paper, you talk about living in a 4,000 square foot home on a 100-acre ranch with all these horses. He said, that's not realistic for you. He says, but what I'll do is if you really want a good grade, I'll let you take this home tonight. You can adjust it and bring it in tomorrow, and I'll consider giving you another grade. And the boy so badly wanted a grade, he took the paper home with him, and he stayed up all night thinking about that. Came back the next morning, handed the paper to the teacher, and the teacher looked at it, he says, what are you doing? He says, this is the same paper I gave you. That's my red F on the top of it. He said, teacher, I thought about it all night. And what I've decided is that you can keep your F, and I'm going to keep my dream. And the man who was talking to this dinner party, he said, I tell you that story as you sit in my 4,000 square foot home on my 100-acre ranch, surrounded by all my horses. And he said, that paper I wrote is framed over my fireplace, if you'd like to see it. You see the power of not only clearly defining your goal, but writing it down and keeping it in front of you on a regular basis. It has such significant power. You can define your goal, and it's so important, and you write it down. But one of the ingredients in getting there, providing the fuel, is a reason why that you want to get there. You have to have a big enough reason why. Because what I know is this, on any journey, on any road, there will always be obstacles and challenges and adversity and struggle. Any road, anywhere. And you may have your path clearly defined in your mind. But if you have not developed a big enough reason why you want to get there, when those road bumps come, when those obstacles appear, when those challenges arrive, you will always find an excuse to stop. No mas. No more. I think I'll find another direction. So one, you have to define where you're headed, and two, you need to understand your reason why. And it's got to be a big one. For us, University of Louisville, chasing the national championship, we wanted to define that. So what is it that motivates you to do it? It was interesting because we ask our guys, what is the picture? We have on a board, piece of paper, not only what it's going to look like when we get there, but what is it that drives us? And it's interesting because for some of the guys, you know what it was? Playing professional soccer. They knew to get to the national final, that was probably their best chance. For other guys, it was a ring on their finger. There were other guys that wanted to go to the White House and meet the president. For some guys, it was the party in the quad that was going to happen for winning the national championship. Look, they all had a different reason why. But defining that was critical. Because do you know that we had to run some sprints some days that were cold when they were hurt, and it was hard and it was difficult? Do you think they wanted to do it? Do you think they have a big reason why? When everybody else is out on Thursday night and we're playing on Friday and we got a big game and everybody else on campus is out partying and they got to be in, do you think they need a big reason why? When everybody else is maybe eating whatever they want, and we're telling our guys, look, you can't drink soda. You got to eat more whole foods. Knock off the sugar. Do you think they need a big reason why? Sure they do.